Welcome again, vinyl community. Bill here, and excuse the hair. I think I'm in desperate need of a haircut, but lockdown's not allowing that at the moment. So here goes. The other option was to wear a hat, but I'm not sure about that look for myself. Today, I'm going to have a rummage in a record box. You can see this is a box full of 7-inch singles and EPs. So I'm just going to pull a few and we can have a chat about the selections that come from this almost random rummage in the record box. Some of these have been cataloguing and are in alphabetical order, but some haven't been catalogued yet. So when we get to that place in the box, we might have a few surprises. So let's start with the first one. James Brown, Papa's got a brand new bag. And on the B side, I've got two more tracks from the one and only James Brown. I think James Brown was the inspiration for some of Mick Jagger's dance moves, but great vocalist, the godfather of soul. You can see in the cover of this album that he was appearing on Ready, Steady, Go, the show with Kathy McGowan. And I think you can find some of the Ready, Steady, Go shows on YouTube. But James Brown, that's first up. This is one that is part of my wife's collection. So it is Proud Mary by the wonderful Swamp Boogie group called Creedence Clearwater Revival. So I've got Proud Mary on the A side, and this is on the Liberty record label. And the B side, you've got Born on the Bayou, another John Fogerty composition. Next up, we'll go for the Human League and Mirror Man. Not sure what's on the B side of this. You Remind Me of Gold. I must confess, I have the Dare album by Human League, but I can't really remember how Mirror Man goes. Shame on me. Now, I know that some of you guys have got some fantastic collections of hundreds and thousands of LPs. I've never really seen anybody show their collection of 45s and EPs. I think most people buy albums because they're better value for money. When I first started collecting records in the 70s, I would refer to this book, Rock File 3, which is by Charlie Gillett and Simon Frith. Obviously, there was another two in the series, and I think there was a Rock File 4. And this was part of my reference set for music that I should investigate and find out about. So in this, they have two sections that are of importance. One is Charlie and Simon's Hot 100 Singles. And I'm not sure how in focus this is, but you've got, the classic rockers of Bebop Alula and Johnny Boo Good, etc. And She Loves You and All Right Now by Free, Wild Thing by Trogs. And later in the book, there was a section on 100. You can see this is a well thumbed book on 100 albums that any self-respecting music fan should own. But we'll come back to that at a later date, probably. So some of the ones on this list of 100 singles weren't readily available to buy on vinyl at that time. And I think it'd be a few years, this is the early 70s, a few years before you had the soundtrack to the American Graffiti film and the That'll Be the Day film with David Essex, which was really our first opportunity to get a good compilation of rock and roll records. So that is why I would occasionally buy singles and EPs. So that's a little bit of the story for the singles box. Next up, we have John and Vangelis and I Hear You Now. So I think that was a single from the Short Stories album. So John was John Anderson of the prog rock band Yes, and Vangelis, I think, was in Aphrodite's Child and was also responsible for the soundtrack or the theme tune for Chariots of Fire. So John and Vangelis is the next choice. And then, I think this one is one of my wife's collection. And this is, I don't know if it's a double A side, and it might actually be a reissue. But on one side, we've got Blue Suede Shoes by Elvis Presley with the Jordanaires. And on the B side, or maybe it's a double A, we have the Lieber and Stoller Hound Dog by Elvis as well. So fantastic single with two great songs, one on either side. Next up, another one from my wife's collection. And this is Steppenwolf and Born to Be Wild. But of course, Born to Be Wild was the great track featured on the Easy Rider movie. Next up, blind look here. I've pulled out two. So we have Doggone by Love on the Harvest label, and the B-side is Standout. Let's get this round the right way. So yeah, Love, one of the great 60s psychedelic bands, and I do have an album of theirs on CD. I've just retrieved the CD so that I can speak about it, but the album's called Forever Changes, and it's just way ahead of its time. I think Whispering Bob Harris selected it as one of his albums when a group of DJs and rock journalists and musicians and recording artists were asked for their top 10 albums of all time. And I think this was Whispering Bob Harris's #1. Might be wrong with that. I think, if I'm right, he gave a copy of this in vinyl form to either Kid Jensen or John Peel. But Love Forever Changes is an album that you really have to check out. Some fantastic psychedelic lyrics, and the soundscape on this is fantastic too. And the second one that I pulled together with Love was Argentina Turner and River Deep Mountain High. It's written by Barry and Greenwich, and it's also got a credit for Phil Spector. I'm not sure if Phil actually wrote it, but yeah, Ike and Tina Turner were part of the Wall of Sound artists. So yeah, Phil Spector at his best. And on the B side, you have Save the Last Dance for Me. Right. Again, we used to get these reissues. So this is Mott the Hoople, All the Young Dudes, with a B-side of Roll Away the Stone. So on the back of this, you can see there's also some other artists in the series. So I'm going to do one more from the crate, and we'll go with this one. Now there's all these different series from different record labels, but this one is called Blast from the Past. And on one side, we've got a Duane Eddy sort of guitar instrumental called 40 Miles of Bad Road. So that's the A side. And then Bill Doggett's Honky Tonk Part 1, which is, I think I've got a couple of, there's 2 copies of Bill Doggett. I can't remember which one I got first. And Raindrops by D. Clark. There we have it, a rummage through the record box and some of the 45s and EPs that my wife and I have in the record collection. So we'll do another one of these sometime soon. So until then, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time for another rummage in the record box.